Bon matin. Let's talk about coffee. Side note, isn't this the cutest freaking mug you've ever seen? I got it at TJ Maxx recently and I'm obsessed. I'm not supposed to put it in the dishwasher or microwave, so that's like a major issue. But whatever. It's so cute. So obviously coffee is a part of my daily ritual. It's something that I've always kind of had as part of my morning routine, and it has been very helpful for me in treating my health. So I have migraine. I've always had migraine, and caffeine can really go either way for people with migraine, but for me it has always been like a pro. Like it's always helped alleviate symptoms, helped my medications work a little bit more efficiently, effectively. And I also have ADHD, and as a stimulant, caffeine does also help me like focus. But I do tend to rely on it quite a bit, and I had noticed sometime mid 2024 that just like the amount of coffee I was starting to drink every day was just creeping higher and higher and higher, and I just really felt this like need to make a change. So I'm actually gonna be getting ready, and we can chit chat while I kind of do my makeup, and I'm gonna be curling my hair today, but we're gonna chit chat about why I'm considering cutting back, not quitting, coffee, and kind of the reasons for that and strategies I've done before that have been super helpful for me, and kind of what I'm doing now. I may have to microwave this though, because it's already a little bit cooled off, but I just said I'm not supposed to microwave this. What do you think is gonna happen if I microwave this? Should I put it in another mug and microwave that mug? Oh my gosh, this is so obnoxious. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Okay, my getting ready space is a little bit of a mess right now. Okay, I think I'm gonna get you a little bit lower while I'm doing the makeup, because I kind of tend to get really close to the mirror that's behind you, and I just don't want that to be a problem. So first, I'll quickly overview. Am I gonna be out of frame if I go over here so I can actually see my reflection? I think we're okay still. I think we're okay. If you get enough of a view over there, my dog is sitting in the chair by the window, so maybe you'll get to see her. Anyway, some of the pros and the cons for coffee and like why I'm gonna be tapering back. I already told you some of the pros, but like it really helps me focus. It does help alleviate migraine symptoms. It does help me with like the effectiveness of migraine medications. It helps me have a really solid morning routine. So I started drinking coffee when I was like 14, 15, I don't know. My dad was driving me and friends that lived in the same neighborhood as us to high school, essentially. I don't know why I keep saying the word essentially. It's one of my favorite words right now. I'm like stuck on it. But my dad was driving us to school because he worked really nearby, and obviously his start time for work was similar to the start time of school. So he would drive a lot of us. And on the way there was this coffee place called Caribou Coffee, which I haven't been to a Caribou Coffee in forever. I'm so curious like how it's going and what I would order if I went there now, because my coffee orders and stuff have changed, which we'll get into. But we would go pretty frequently, and I would always get like a foo-foo coffee is what I call this type of coffee. I think it was like a campfire mocha or something like that. So like coffee, but like dessert coffee. It had like marshmallows, I think you got to choose between like white chocolate, milk chocolate, and dark chocolate. I don't know, I don't remember the details, but like I always got like that coffee. Anyway, we went relatively often, and I don't know, I forget if it was when I got a license at 16 years old or if like, I don't know what changed. One day I just kind of like realized how expensive these coffees were, and I was just like, I can't keep doing this because I'm gonna like want a coffee every single day, and I can't keep spending this money on this coffee every single day. No judgment at all if that's your routine and if you're like buying coffee at a coffee place every morning, but I was getting those foo-foo things, and like I'm a teenager, I had a job, but I wasn't like swimming in extra cash, and I was like, I don't want to keep spending my money on this, so like what can I do about it? So my parents are coffee drinkers, both of them, and I like immediately made the switch to black coffee. Crazy. I know, I'm a crazy person, but like I went from the really foo-foo desserty coffee straight to like, I'm just gonna have some Folgers like in the coffee pot and drink that, and I loved it like almost immediately. I don't remember the transition period because I don't know. Anyway, I did start consistently having coffee every single day pretty early on, and I have tapered myself off of it in the past because obviously people are like, hey, you have migraine, you're not supposed to do that, have you ever tried blah blah blah. So I tapered myself off of it multiple times, which we'll talk about how I did that later, but I tapered off and I didn't notice any improvement in my health at all, so I was like, well, this is stupid, and I would just like eventually turn back to it. But I've always been a pretty like mild to moderate coffee drinker, where it's like 1 or 2 cups a day for most of the time. I don't know, in the last couple of years, I have noticed that I've gone from a 1 to 2 cups. I started noticing that I had to start updating my verbiage around that to like, it's usually 2 cups. And then I then noticed it was creeping even higher, so it became like 2 to 3 cups, and then it was like consistently at least 3 cups of coffee a day, which is not like an insane amount, but like I didn't see an end in sight where I was gonna like stable out at a certain number. I just foresaw that I was gonna keep having more and more and more and more and more and more, and it was to the point where I was drinking coffee like all day long. I'm drinking coffee all day, I'm just sipping coffee all day, and there's a couple of cons and the reasons that I wanted to stop doing that. So first, when we're just thinking migraine wise, I guess for ADHD as well, and it being a stimulant helping me focus, it's just less effective when you're excessively using it. So like my body had obviously adapted to that 1 to 2 cups, and it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do anymore. Like I wasn't getting that effect that I look for with coffee. And that's when my like tolerance kind of set in and I started reaching for more and more. So it's less effective, and also caffeine can contribute to something called medication overuse headache, which I also describe as medication adaptation headache, and I'll link an article I've written about that in the description, but essentially this is just like a nightmare situation when you are reaching for a treatment for migraine more often than like what it's supposed to be used as, and your body acclimates to it, and then you're stuck in this cycle of like your brain is more central sensitization, I think is what it's called, where you're more prone to migraine attacks and headaches. I don't get headaches, so I don't really know how headaches play into anything, but more prone to migraine attacks, and they are much harder to treat because now your body's kind of adapted to the medication. So you're kind of stuck in this terrible loop where you're having symptoms way more often and they are much harder to treat. So caffeine can contribute to that. I don't know if it can cause it, but like it is one of the things that there's like a guideline for how much you're supposed to consume each day, or like within the confines of a month, to avoid medication overuse headache. And also, I don't know which direction we're going with my makeup right now. Sorry, I'm stuck. I'm thinking, I don't know, whatever. We'll just grab this one. And also I actually reach for coffee as like sometimes my first line of treatment when I'm getting migraine symptoms. And if I already kind of have this tolerance of like, oh, I need 3 cups just to like function, then there's a way less likelihood, like lower likelihood, that the 1 cup that I'm taking to treat symptoms is going to do anything at all. So like I foresaw a future where caffeine was not going to be helpful for me anymore. And also, this was not like top of mind, but is definitely something that I'm considering. I have like bad dental health or something. Like I am prone to cavities. It's annoying. I feel like every time I go to the dentist, they find new cavities. Actually, I just went to the dentist this month and there weren't any new cavities, and for some reason that felt like a big change. Terrible. But I think it's related to these changes that I've been making with coffee, because like drinking an acidic drink and something that's going to be staining your teeth just like all day long, just constantly having that like build up on your teeth and no break and like just constantly is not good for dental health, of course. And that's like not the reason I have dental issues. I don't know if I have dental issues. My teeth are fine, but like prone to cavities. I don't know. There's a few reasons that I'm looking into for that, and the coffee drinking was one of them. And we are seeing if I like limit the amount of time and the amount of like consumption that I have of coffee is gonna help. That's what I'm hoping. But kind of the turning point was, I think it was end of 2024, some point, maybe November. My fiance, sorry, I'm like paralyzed with indecision right now. I don't know what I'm doing. My fiance just made a comment, not like a judgy comment, but he was like noticing you're drinking a lot of coffee, and he said something aloud about it. He's not a coffee drinker, although I think I'm changing him. I'm fixing him. He's been doing some like cappuccinos and like lattes and stuff, so I think I'm getting to him finally in his old age of like late 20s, 29 years old. He's finally starting coffee. Like, he just noticed that I was starting to drink a lot, and he said something about it. I'm like, dang it, you're right. So that's when I was like, okay, we're gonna do something about this. So I knew I didn't want to stop drinking coffee because I, like I said before, have taken myself off of coffee in the past and had no improvement. And I just like am very fond of coffee. Like it's almost part of my personality, which is so cringe, I know. But like it's a part of my routine. It's a part of like my soothing morning ritual. It's a habit. It's something that doesn't overall do me a lot of harm. So I'm like, I'm not cutting out coffee, but my goal is getting back to like usually just being 1 cup a day type of person again. That's my goal. And I'll get more in depth with what I'm doing right now and what like my specific goals are in a moment once I kind of walk you through the different ways to taper off of it. But so here's something about me. I am a wildly inconsistent person, and that is just my ADHD like at play. Like, I'm just inconsistent, and I know that. And I do overall have this goal of 1 cup a day, but I am not expecting perfection at all. So today I have not even had my first cup yet, and I'm sure I will finish that 1 cup, but I don't foresee having a lot more today. If I do, whatever. I'm, again, not being that strict with myself. But like yesterday, I was very migraine-y, very symptomatic, and I think I overall had 3 cups of coffee yesterday, which was a little excessive. I usually, when I'm reaching for a little extra, will have 2 these days, but I had my first one like while I was getting ready, then I was like, I just need something else, like more, and I had the second one as I'm going to work, and then like later in the afternoon, almost evening, is when I was like, I feel terrible, let's just have another. So I'm not being that strict with myself, but I am making a major improvement, and like this has been pretty successful, you guys. But first, let's rewind and tell you about how I successfully have totally taken myself off of my coffee habit in the past. So this is something I call the taper method. I don't know if I call it that or if I'm just calling it that today. I don't know. But I like this because it's very flexible and adaptable. You can individualize it. So basically it's a 5-step system where you take your normal coffee consumption amount, which you can try to taper down that amount to a more reasonable level first if that's something you need to do. Like if you're having a whole pot of coffee, maybe can we start drinking less first, like a little, like maybe, I don't know how much is in a pot, you guys. Let's assume it's 4 cups, I don't know. Maybe can you brew 3 cups and see how that goes first, and then go down to maybe 2, and then start this process. Like, you can take a preliminary step, but you don't have to. So step 1 is when you have your regular caffeinated coffee, whatever that looks like, that's step 1. Now you go to the second step where I need like a visual, I feel like. I can maybe put a visual on the screen if I remember to do so. I don't know if that'll even help. I don't know. Basically, it's kind of a percentage game. So you go from 100% caffeinated coffee, but then once you kind of hit a point where you're like, okay, I feel comfortable to move to the next step, you take your coffee grounds, whether you have a like reusable K-cup like I do, or like you're putting it in, I don't know, whatever the filters. If you're doing the filters, instead of 100% caffeinated coffee beans, put 75-ish% caffeinated, and then make that last 25% decaf. So you see where we're going with this. We're going to try to make it more decaf than calf. Okay, you know what I mean, over time, and we're going to be working our way down to decaf coffee. So I like this because you still get to maintain that coffee drinking habit, but you're moving to the right direction. So for a while, once you're like not having symptoms, and also like I like this kind of more, you know, structured approach where you're slowly working down because you're less likely to have symptoms. So once you're comfortable with the 75% caffeinated coffee, move to step 3, which is 50-50. And then once you're comfortable with step 3, move to step 4, which is more decaf than caffeinated. So 75% decaf and 25% caffeinated. Once you're comfortable with that, move to 100% decaf. So one like disclaimer here is that decaf coffee does still have a small amount of caffeine in it, just the way that it's processed. Another disclaimer, a lot of people say they don't like the taste of decaf, and I know what you're talking about because now that I've like done this a few times, I taste decaf, and I'm not a picky coffee drinker, but like I can tell when it's like wrong, and a decaf tastes wrong to me. But something that you can try is something called Swiss water processed coffee. Is that what it's called? Swiss water processed decaf. So the way that it's made, it makes it 100% decaf. Like there's no caffeine in it. And I think the way that it's made, it like uses water instead of chemicals to remove the caffeine. I could be so wrong saying that, but like that's my understanding without looking into it for literally years now. So maybe the taste would be a little bit more tolerable for you there. And also if you're someone that like puts creamer and stuff in your coffee, then you're probably not going to notice the taste as much. So I have literally done this at least 2 times and taken myself totally onto decaf coffee, and then later, I think there's been times where I'm like, well, I just won't drink anything this morning. But I do find it very comforting still having that warm drink every morning, so I really like this method where you still get to have the drink, even if you're not having the caffeine. If you're someone who learns more through like reading than just like verbal or visualization or something, I do have an article where I kind of detail this, and maybe slightly more detail, that I will also link below. So what am I doing now? Because I'm not doing that, because I'm not doing this with the end goal of having no caffeine. I'm doing this with the end goal of having a more manageable amount of my coffee. So instead of this like tapering approach where I'm removing the caffeine from my coffee, what I'm doing is trying to tailor the times that I am drinking my coffee. So since I am very flexible with myself and I don't see any harm inherently, other than the cons I listed before, but like inherently I don't see any harm with drinking coffee, I have noticed that I a lot of times will just reach for it out of habit or just like for fun, you know? Like a lot of the times it's just something that I'll have because it's there. So I'm really trying to be a little bit more mindful about when I'm like going to brew a cup, like why am I doing that? Like yesterday when I had 3 cups, I knew what I was doing. I knew it was because I feel yucky, I feel symptomatic, I'm not feeling energetic. Like I'm looking for some alleviation of my symptoms. I knew I was doing that when I brewed cup 2 and 3. Whereas it used to just be a habit, like, oh, I'm home, the Keurig's right there, let me just make another. So I'm trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about that. I'm also trying to think about if it's worth doing for symptom relief, because like, for example, with the yesterday where I had 3 cups, I knew I was reaching for it for migraine relief, but I do have to kind of check in with myself now and think like, maybe should you just take some medicine? Like, should you just take your painkiller, Casey? Should you take your Nurtec? And I did take medication yesterday and it just wasn't working, and that's why I ultimately decided to have more coffee in the afternoon/evening, which generally speaking, you shouldn't do that. I'm a crazy person. I'm irresponsible. No, I think this is related to my ADHD. I can literally have coffee at like 10 p.m. and be asleep by 10:30. Like it doesn't seem to impact my sleep. I know that it still technically could be impacting it, but it doesn't feel like it impacts it. But yeah, I know that I have a habit of like, oh, I don't feel so good, I should have some coffee. I'm trying to think a little bit more critically about that and consider maybe you should reach for a different like strategy for relief. So it's kind of like the more mindful approach I'm taking to it. But I'm also trying to cut out coffee as a for funsies or as a reward. So a fun thing about me with, again, my ADHD plays into so many things that I didn't consider before the diagnosis. It's crazy. I hate body hygiene things. I still do them, but I hate them. So like, and I have evidence of this. Like I have gotten recurrent UTIs because I just like don't feel like going to the bathroom. So I'm just like holding it, and that's bad. That's bad for you. Don't do that. But I keep getting UTIs because I keep doing it because it feels so tedious to do basic body hygiene things. I hate showering. So I hate showering, and I had created this routine of like, coffee is my little reward after I'm showered. Okay, sorry, I realized I was not going to be able to do mascara while talking. Coffee as a reward for my showers has actually been an amazing system because it makes me dread the shower way less. You could ask my fiance. I literally have a little temper tantrum every single morning. I throw a fit. I try to like rationalize why, oh, I don't really need to do it today. I do this every single morning and it's so annoying, I know, but like I can't help it. I hate it so much. But if I brew a cup of coffee and go take a shower, it is almost always the perfect temperature when I get out of the shower. And that's like something I noticed. I'm like, okay, well, this can be like, it's like a reward kind of thing. And that has worked incredibly well, but I'm trying to like not do that anymore, which is very sad. I don't know. I need a new reward. What should my new reward be, you guys? I need a reward to shower. Yes, I know. It's so sad. But I also kind of just generally view it as a pick-me-up. So like typically my pattern would be to have a cup of coffee while I'm getting ready for the day and then either like top it off if I wasn't finished or like get a second cup as I like go to do my day stuff. So I'm trying to like not do that. So I've kind of played with how I want to approach that. So either I'm going to like not have coffee on the go with me for that, like just that habit of a second cup, or I'm trying to like hold off on my first cup of the day, which is probably a better approach because really I drink it before I'm having my breakfast, which is not good for your hormone levels. Like you're supposed to eat breakfast before you start just drinking coffee. And so I should probably push the coffee till I'm actively eating at least, which is something I should really consider. But yeah, I'm trying to like rein that in. So I'm just doing one or the other. I'm having the coffee as I'm getting ready for the day, or I'm taking my one to go mug with me on the go. And I always tell myself, because again, I'm not like trying to deprive myself. I'm allowed to have more coffee if I feel the need for it. At most of my work sites that I go to, and I don't know why I said most, because it's at all of my work sites that I go to, and even like just driving on the way, there's coffee available. If I really want more, I can go fill up in the staff break room or something like that. Like, it is there. I just tend not to use that as a resource, so I'm way less likely to continue drinking it, and that works pretty well for me. Or I could just like stop somewhere on the way. I almost never do that. Yeah, so those are kind of the methods I'm trying right now, and it is working incredibly well. Like, I know yesterday was kind of a fluke because we kind of threw all of that out the window, but like I explained, like there were reasons I was reaching for it, and I did that with like the conscious knowledge of like, this is more than my normal amount. And today is probably going to go back to that baseline of just having one, maybe more if I really feel like it, but I don't foresee that happening. And yeah, so that is it. That's my coffee journey. I guess I'm gonna curl my hair later. I'm just really trying to get in tune with things and find a good balance with how I'm approaching all things in my life, especially this, which is like a tool for relief, but I don't want to be abusing it or like use it to a point that it's no longer as therapeutic for me. And I have been successfully kind of in line with this, usually just 1 cup a day thing for I think several months now. Like, this is way overdue. I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, and I think that we're in a really good place with it. I'm feeling very confident with it, and at this point I don't feel like I consciously am trying to make any more changes. I think I'm just trying to stay where I have implemented these new habits. So I hope this helps. If you are considering cutting out coffee or cutting back on your coffee, let me know why in the comments, or which strategy you think is going to be most helpful for you. I think the tapering approach is best for most people, but like, if your goal is not to take yourself off of coffee, I think thinking about the things that I've mentioned before, like your mindful thoughts around why you're reaching for more, like where it is in your routine, why is it a habit, like thinking about those things might work for you too. And let me know if you have any more tips for me. Again, like, I'm not consciously trying to make any more changes right now, but like, I don't know, if you have a really good tip, maybe I'll implement it. Oh, I guess let me know if you have a good like shower reward for me, because it's been very sad to not have my cup of coffee as I get out of the shower. It's been very, very sad. Okay, toodles.